Hi, in this video, I show you how you can run PostgreSQL in Docker from scratch. You will learn how you can start a database container, persist the data, and connect it to your apps. To start, we need to go to Docker Hub. That's what we are looking at here. What we want to install is Postgres. From here, you can choose what version you want to install, or you want to pull. For example, let us use 15. When you change it, you're going to see that it changes here. For example, let me change it back to 1422. You see it changes to 1422, but what we want to use is 15. Let me copy this. Then let's go to the terminal. Before we start, let us check our Docker version. You need to do this to make sure that you have your version installed, or rather you have Docker installed. If you get any error, then you might want to go on to make sure that everything is installed the way it should. Let me clear that, and then let me paste our Docker pull Postgres as we copied from the Docker Hub and press enter. Usually this will take quite maybe some seconds, so I'm going to hang on. When it ends, I will come back. Now we have pulled the image from Docker Hub. Let us check our images. Docker images. With this command, we are going to see the list of images you've got on your machine. So let us look for it. That's it. Postgres. That's it. Now that we pull the image, the next thing we need to do is to run our container off of that image. And this is the code that we are going to use to run the container. And I'm going to go on and explain. So now we are running the Docker. We are running it with in detach mode, which means it will be running in the background. Then we are giving the container a name. The name would be my Postgres. Here we are creating a password for it. Also here we are mapping the host name, the port number, the host name to the container. So which means we will be able to access the container on the internet or on the host machine. That's why we are mapping the host name port, this port number, to the container port number. Here we are creating a persistent volume. So we are creating a volume here so that when the container is something happens to the container, maybe it's shut down or deleted, the contents of the container still remains. So that is why we are creating the volume. Then this is obviously the image from which we are creating the container. That's what we've got here. So by the way, if you want to know more about these very settings that we have here, like creating the password, for example, and so forth, all this information is actually on the website that we are using, which is let me show you. So when you go back to Docker Hub, you are going to see all the instructions on how you can create this. Some here. There is detailed information. So from here, you are going to choose what you want and then follow the instructions. So that's where you can find this information. So let me close this, and here we can hit enter now. You see, a container has been created for us right away. So if you want, you can actually let's say Docker PS. Let us see the container that was created for us. That is the container that just got created now. It was created 14 seconds ago. That's the name of the container. and that's the image. If you remember what we called, is that the image, right? And that is the name of the container. We called it my Postgres. If you remember, where is it? That's my Postgres, the name, and then my Postgres here. So that's how easy it is to run the container. If you also want, you could also check the volume. With that, you can say docker volume, ls. When you run this, you're going to find, you see the volume that we just created, pg data. Where is it? That's it. That's the volume name. So everything got created for us as we specified, right? There are certain commands you could use here. For example, if you want to stop it, you could say docker stop, and then we find the name of the container and stop it. Now let us check again. Docker ps, you see the container is gone. It's no longer there. If you want, we can start it again. Docker start. Then let us check again. Now it's back. It started again. So this is how easily you can pull the image and create run a container off of it. Let me clear this and we can try a couple of commands. If you want to connect to the Docker, to the container, for example, that we just created, it's actually easy. You could use the command docker exec interactive. Then the name of the name, we called it my my Postgres. I think it was my Postgres SQL Postgres. Let's see. I hope I got it correctly. You see, so now we have logged into the Postgres database. Let's see what we could find here. Nothing is there. So, but at least you can see that the prompt has changed. So we are now connected to the database. Now that we finish, we can actually, let me get out of this. Oh, quit. Oh, this should have a different command actually. This should have a different command. I was thinking that the container was like Ubuntu container or something like that. So, but because this is a database, so usually you use hyphen or not hyphen, but the is it \q in order to get out of it. So now we can get out of this, and the next thing that you could do now is to clean the stuff. For example, we can stop the Docker. Docker stop my Postgres. We can stop it. Now it's stopped. The next thing we could do is to remove it, because this takes a lot of space on the system. It's removed. We can also remove the volume. It will be docker volume, it should be rm remove pg data. Now we have cleaned everything. So if we want now, we can actually remove the image. Remove image. The image was Postgres. Let me check again. Docker images. Let me check again what it's called. It's that's the image. Postgres. So Docker remove image. There should be image. Docker remove image. Deleted. So let us check again. Docker images. Let's see if it will still be there. So it's gone. So now we have cleaned our system. So this is how you can easily pull a Postgres database image from the Docker Hub and run a container off of it. So I hope this has been helpful. Can I ask you to please subscribe to my channel, to like and to share? Thank you.